I hate celebrating my birthday. And that's actually not true. The truth is, I grew up with emotionally unavailable parents who didn't make a big deal about my birthday or celebrating milestones. So I created a story that I'm not important and I don't deserve to be celebrated. And I carried that story into adulthood, and now I feel all weird and gross about celebrating my birthday. So today is my birthday, and welcome to video 10 of the Broke versus Abundant Energy series, where we are going to be talking about celebrating yourself. So if you are like me and you struggle with celebrating yourself, this video is for you, because we're going to talk about why it's important, and more importantly, the action step at the end is going to show you how to develop a practice in your everyday life to start appreciating and celebrating yourself, because you deserve it. And if you're new here, I'm Angie, the Inner Glow Coach, and I help successful on paper women rewrite their money story so they stop playing small, know their worth, use their voice, and start getting paid like they mean it. So today is my birthday, and this video idea came about because last week I ran into a friend of mine while surfing, and he knew my birthday was this week. So he was all excited. He was like, "So what are you doing for your birthday?" And I could feel the shame coming up in my chest, because there's this story about I'm not important and I don't deserve to celebrate my birthday. And I just said something along the lines of like, "Oh, I haven't really thought about it yet," which was true. And he was like, "Why not? We should do something. Do you want to go hiking? Do you want to go running? We should get some people together." And I just felt all weird and gross about it. And so after surfing, I like to ground. And my version of grounding, I know the normal definition of grounding is walking barefoot in the grass, but my version of grounding is just sprawling out in the grass and just absorbing the energy of the earth. And I usually like to do it by trees, because trees are very energetic. So I was grounding, and I started asking myself, why am I like this? Why don't I like celebrating my birthday? Why can't I just celebrate my birthday? What's wrong with me? And if you've watched any of my other videos, I always talk about why it's so important to be self-aware, because self-awareness is the first step to healing and making changes in your life. And it's important because I became aware that I was berating myself, and that was my critical inner voice. That wasn't me. So because I was being self-aware, I pulled myself out of self-criticism, and I moved into self-compassion, and I approached it from a place of curiosity. I was like, sorry, my notes are flying everywhere. I don't know why I'm apologizing, but I approached it from a place of curiosity. I was like, why don't I like celebrating my birthday? And I came up with several events and memories, and a few of which I'm going to share with you. One of which was growing up. My birthday's on June 17th. I have a cousin who is 6 years younger than me, and her birthday is at the end of June. Also, some years my birthday falls on Father's Day. So growing up, I felt like I never had my own unique celebration. I either had to share it with my cousin or Father's Day, or sometimes both. And as a child, I remember there were a few times where I voiced this to my parents. Like, I just wanted to have my own celebration and do my own thing. But that was too inconvenient for them. It was a burden, and I was dismissed and brushed off. Another thing that would happen was when I was really little, I would get all excited about my birthday in advance, meaning like on May 17th, I would start the countdown, like 1 month until my birthday. And then it would really get intense in June. Like on June 1st began like the day-to-day countdown. But it would annoy my mom, and she'd be like, okay. So I learned very early on that I was a burden, and it wasn't safe for me to be excited about my birthday. And if you've watched any of my other videos, I talk a lot about how our dysfunctional habits and behaviors and beliefs, they were developed when we were children and teenagers, because until we're 18, we are under the care of our caregivers, which for most of us is our parents, but it's any adult who is your primary caregiver until you were 18. So it's very intelligent of us to develop these beliefs and strategies to survive in that environment because we have no other choice. But the problem is we carry these things into adulthood and they no longer serve us. So for example, just a few ways that this played out in my adulthood is I was the first person in my family on my mom and my dad's side to graduate college with a 4-year degree. But when I graduated college, and by the way, I worked full time, I went to school full time, I went to summer school. It took me 4.5 years to graduate. I was so proud of myself. Nobody gave a shit. And so that reinforced my belief, like I'm not important, I'm not enough, I don't deserve to be celebrated. And in all fairness, that was my early 20s, so I'm still in this process of discovering who I am and healing from all my childhood wounding. But later on, as an adult, in my 30s, when I lived in Chicago, I took the the Second City Chicago sketch comedy writing program. And if you don't know what the Second City Chicago is, it's not this way anymore, but it used to be anybody who was ever on Saturday Night Live graduated from the Second City Chicago Comedy Training Center. And I'm talking going as way far back as like Dan Aykroyd and the Belushi brothers. And I think the most current round is like Steve Carell and Amy Poehler. The newer people, not so much because that kind of dissolved, but anyone between those two eras, everybody went to the Second City Chicago Training Center. Like that's how prestigious this is. And I took the sketch comedy writing program, and anybody can be in levels 1 through 4, but you have to apply to be in levels 5 and 6 because your class writes and produces a show that's performed on the Second City stage. And so I made it into levels 5 and 6, which was a huge honor. And then for the show, every writing student had 1 or 2 scenes in the show. I had 2 scenes in the show, and I was super excited about it because they were my 2 scenes that I was the most proud of. So when I found out that 2 of my scenes had been selected, I called my mom and I was so excited. And her response was, "Well, that's greedy." And it completely shot me down and was totally dismissive. And instead of being a functional adult, I let that feed into the belief I'm not important, I don't deserve to be celebrated, and all of that stuff. So anyway, back to grounding last week. When I approached the question of why am I not celebrating my birthday or excited about my birthday, from a curious standpoint, I started thinking about all of these things. And from a compassionate lens, I truly understood why I was the way I was. Because I was like, yeah, that makes sense that I wouldn't be excited about celebrating myself or celebrating my birthday. But here's the fun thing about being an adult. Like, yes, you can carry this dysfunction into adulthood, but the good news is you also have the opportunity to reparent yourself. And if you're like me and you had parents that didn't meet your emotional needs, I see you because I get it. It sucks because that's who you really needed to get your emotional needs met from. But the good news is you can still give it to yourself. And the mistake that I used to make was I would try to give myself these things as an adult to an adult. Like I call my adult self me, adult Angie, and little me, little Angie. But I wasn't connecting with little Angie enough. So as an adult, I was trying to give adult self all the love and all the stuff I didn't get from my parents. But that would just make me feel all weird and resentful because it's like, but I should have just been getting this from my parents. But it was a huge game changer for me to actually do these visualizations with little Angie and give her the love and celebrate her and just pour my love into her. And I know it may not make sense to some of you it will, but that filled my adult cup. So I'm saying this to say, if you didn't get your emotional needs met, you can do that for yourself. And that's part of celebrating yourself because you can give that to yourself. And before I get into the action step, I want to talk about why celebrating yourself is important. because you get what you focus on. So for example, I used to be the kind of person that focused on life is a struggle, I should be here. Even when I did accomplish something, it was like on to the next thing. The goalpost was always moving. So I was always focused on the gap and where I wasn't and blah, 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 blah. But when you're focused on celebrating yourself and acknowledging that you're learning and growing, that just reinforces motivation and confidence to do the hard things, achieve more. And honestly, and it's beyond the achievements and the things you're actually doing, it feels good. Because if you are alive on this earth right now, you deserve to feel good. Because when I was in that mode of everything's a struggle, whatever, shocker, I didn't feel good. I was miserable most of the time. So if anything, celebrate yourself to feel good. But there really is a subconscious mechanism to it to actually motivating yourself to grow and learn and keep moving as a functional adult. So that leads us into our action step, which, if you haven't already guessed, it's developing a practice of celebrating yourself. And I want you to listen to me very carefully before you just brush me off. I want you to do this every single day, not just on your birthday, not just when you pass a major milestone, although you need to do it on those times too, but celebrate yourself every single day. Because let's face it, life is hard. Some days it's a struggle to get out of bed and face the day. So if you're at that place where it's hard to get out of bed and face the day, and you got out of bed to face the day, celebrate that, because that's a big effing deal. People really underestimate how hard that can be sometimes. Or if, as an adult, I had to learn how to set boundaries. I had to learn how to use my voice. I had to learn all of these new things that I didn't learn as a child and teenager. And it felt kind of ridiculous celebrating setting a boundary. Like I said no when I wanted to say no instead of saying yes when I wanted to say no. But celebrate yourself, because it's a big effing deal, because it's better late than never. And it's actually really cool that you're learning and growing and being a better version of yourself. So celebrate even the little things. So every single day, I want you to celebrate. And by celebrate, I'm not talking about checking off a list and yep, I got to win today, on to the next one. Say it out loud, do a happy dance, sing a song, celebrate out loud. And again, it kind of feels ridiculous at first, but once you get in the habit, it's kind of like for example, if I get unexpected money, I do a happy dance and sing a song. And it felt kind of ridiculous at first, but that's just what I do now. So develop a daily practice of this. And so many things came up as I was saying that. One was the life is hard thing, for sure. Another, and I just want to reinforce that you deserve to feel good. I don't know why life has become this thing that's just kind of like a chore that we're trying to get through. It is kind of a society conditioning thing, but we don't play the rules of society anymore. If you want, I have a whole playlist on creating your own rules for life. And this is another rule for life. We're not playing by society's rules. We're going to celebrate ourselves no matter how seemingly insignificant. And obviously celebrate yourself for the milestones or other things that are obviously a big effing deal. And the last thing I want to say on this, and this is extra credit for your action step, celebrate other people. Because if you haven't noticed, there are a lot of really mean, angry people in the world right now. And without going into it, because I could go off on a whole tangent, you're either contributing to lowering the vibration of the universe or raising the vibration of the universe. So I've actually developed, I hate to say this, I developed this habit before I developed the habit of celebrating myself. I started a habit of every day I try to give a stranger a compliment. And I don't want to say try, because I earnestly practice doing this. Whether that's, sometimes I barely leave the house. except to go surfing. So I try to do it in public if I can, but even on social media, if you see a stranger's post and it touches you in some way, or even if you like their outfit or their vibe or their energy or something, leave a positive comment, because you've seen it on social media. There's so many negative comments, and haters don't contribute to that. Be the person who's hyping someone up. So the action step is to celebrate yourself, but for extra credit, start celebrating other people too. And by the way, this is the inner glow in action, because the inner glow is that love and energy inside of you that's radiating outward, because not only does it feel good to you, but you're sharing it with other people, because other people can feel your energy. And I don't care if you believe in science or woo-woo, but energy is real. So when you're in this energy of appreciation, whether it's yourself or others, you feel it and it feels good, and other people can feel it too. And on a global level, it's raising the vibration of the universe. So energy is real. So I'm not going to get into all of that, but for all my woo-woo witches and even my quantum physics people, energy is real. So being in this energy of appreciation and celebration is just radiating that energy. And by the way, being in that energy is how you attract things to you instead of chasing after them and life feeling like a struggle, blah, 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 blah. And if you want to learn more about the inner glow or rekindling your inner glow, I have a good place to start. I have a free download. It's called the 80% Life Detector, because I used to be what I call 80% of playing at 80% of life, because I was successful on paper. My LinkedIn looked good. I had the house, I had the car, I had all of these things, but my life didn't feel good. And what is the point of being alive if you aren't excited about your own life? And this is totally on theme with celebrating yourself. So I created the 80% Life Detector. It's a free download, and it covers 5 areas of your life, like money, career, relationships, friendships, where you may be playing at 80% or anything less than 100%. And it helps you discover where you may be playing less than 100%. And best of all, there's an exercise at the end to bridge that gap, because it's not about looking good on paper. It's about feeling good, being excited about your own life, and that is what rekindles your inner glow. So, action step is to celebrate yourself, and the next video, which is video 10 of the Broke versus Abundant Energy series, I can't believe this didn't come sooner, because it's about time, which is something I struggle with. So if you struggle with there's not enough time and all the stories you tell yourself about time, video 10 is for you. And before we go, we're going to celebrate my birthday, because today is my birthday. And I deserve to be celebrated, because I'm worth it. My birthday is important. I'm important, just like you're important, and you deserve to be celebrated. So celebrate yourself today, and I will see you in video 10.